Okay, good afternoon, folks. Hope everyone is well. Good morning to you, Karina. So let's see what today brings us. Volume, same again, quite low overnight, but we'll see how we get on. So I did pick up a couple of more PA accounts yesterday. I'd had another payment of another $1,000, so I got two more to add to my tally. I did take a trade, as you can see, on one of them. Quite a good trade, actually. Took it on the NQ. A second entry short, and I just held it, and it just seems to... I forgot that trading the NQ, you seem to get kind of, well, it's slightly more risk, but things move a bit quicker and profit, but so I did okay there. So Tony, how you doing? Exponential, how are you? Speedy, how you doing? Daryl, how you doing, buddy? Okay, So, had some news, didn't really do anything. I did sit here for the news. We've got some medium impact news coming up at around about 30 minutes. So, I was looking at this and I did wonder whether there was a channel. We kind of had two legs. I know a lot of people don't really pay much attention to, but it kind of fitted okay, and we had kind of a perfect measured leg. But even if you take that away, it's still kind of moving that way. Now, you may say that's a break, but the fact that it pushed up from there, I'm not too sure, really. So I was going to say something, I can't remember what it was now. Maybe that's there, I don't know. Maybe it's a bit sideways or sidewards. Straight Lines Tattoo, how you doing, buddy? No new offers? Nothing, mate. This is the longest period we haven't had any type of discount. I mean, there's the $35 reset. So if you've got an account within the last 30 days, you can reset it. But bear in mind, if you do, and you've only got a week left on it, it will recharge you after a week. So just keep that in mind. Now, I had a couple that ran out on about the 3rd of February. But I knew I was going to, so I just reset them for $35 each because I knew I was going to trade them aggressively and either blow the account. But I did 4 yesterday, last night, and passed 2 of them. So that's okay for me. That's a 50-50. So I'm okay with that. So I've got another couple to my tally. So I'm up to 8 now. And whereas I was trading that one individually, that one now over 5 days is up to over 3,000. So I'm trading it a little bit aggressively, sensibly, but a bit aggressively. But I've done that before, and sometimes if you have one by itself, you tend to risk it a little bit more, and it can lead to a blown account. So I've locked it off now. So 1 loss in a day on all 8 of my accounts. It won't let me trade again till tomorrow. So I'm starting to make some money now. I'm starting to see some changes. So I just want to make some sensible decisions and protect them now. I've gone through so many. I've only had about 100. Where am I up to? 131. Now I've got 8. So I've blown about 124, 123, which is not a huge amount. I know some people kind of rinse and repeat, don't they? And they just... I think Nutty, he's done way more than me, and I think Alpine as well, but they regularly have 20 accounts. I think they've got a bit of excess cash, which they keep injecting in, and I know Nutty puts on his screen what he's paid, and he's paid over $4,000. I think I've paid about 1,300, 14, maybe 1,500 with these two. Yesterday, so he does put more in, but he has more accounts. So excuse me just a second. Sorry. So yeah, those guys, I think they've earned more money, so they can put more money in. Now, if I had 20 accounts, that's 7,000 for the months. Might be double that and some. So we'll see what happens anyway. But it's just a bit unclear about what's going on, really. So we had 2 legs down, and then we seem to have been working up here. But I would have said that probably had it as a break and a new high. So this is coming down. So let me have a look. I think want to get people to, yeah, they do. I don't know why though, because you can't base only giving offers to customers on a different platform. I would say the majority of the people are already on a platform are going to stay with. Why would you change? You know, if it's not broken, why try and fix it? So I'm certainly not changing, and I know other traders that I know aren't changing. So I don't know. I mean, they're not going to, you know, they're not going to have the same income if they only, you know, give discounts to people on those wealth charts, because you're not going to get the same volume. We shall see anyway. PAs, I might get 900. Yeah, it's only one PA, that, Karina. But I traded that earlier on the NQ, and it just moved quick. I moved my stop down, but I've been a bit aggressive with that, to be honest with you, which is why now I've decided to lock it up. The trouble is, I've done that in the past. I have a chunk of my accounts, and what I do is go, in certain circumstances, I'm just going to trade one account on this. Now, that tells me straight away that I'm trading risky or aggressively, and I want to kind of change a few things. I'm starting to get a bit of success now, so I want to, you know, kind of work on that and try and improve it. So I've locked them off. One trade, one loss in a day, and that's it. I'm locked out. So I think that's a better option for me. Try that platform. Well, it gave 3 free evals, and now it's 9%. I think, yeah, I mean, it's a case of what you're used to, isn't it? Now, I've been trading with Ninja Trader every day now for a little over 3.5 years. Now, when you're risking money and you're doing something for a living every day, you need to know it well, and you need to, you know, you need to rely on it. And all of a sudden, doing that same thing, jumping into a completely new platform, I think is risky personally. Now, I understand maybe new traders coming into it and people who haven't sort of settled, you know, with anything. Leg and a leg, I wonder. Then I kind of get it, but you can't just give your good offers to your newer customers, because you're going to miss the bulk of your customers out. So let me just check I'm not missing something larger up here. The trouble is, we've already had a break. If you put it there, we've had a break. If you put it there, we've had a break. I mean, where do you draw the line? I think we've already had a break of that and a new high. So I'll be expecting the price to come down here. But it's still a little bit unclear. We have got some news coming up. It is medium impacts. Sometimes it doesn't make a difference, but on the odd occasion it has done. It's absolutely flipped out sometimes. Brick, that's a name I haven't heard for a while. How you doing, my friend? First day back trade for a while. Good on you, mate. I recognise your name as soon as I saw it. Daryl, Q, beautiful sometimes. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, because I've only really traded the S&P 500, I'm kind of used to it, how it moves. I'm used to the risks. I know what I'm getting myself in for. Whereas I only traded 2 contracts on that, and I got $950. The thing just took off. I didn't think I would get anywhere near that. So maybe we haven't had a break. So I trade it. Well, I was actually trading it around. I came back and was trading it around FMC. And I trade the NQ because I think it's easier to pass, because, you know, if you go max out 10 contracts, you've only got to go the distance of 1 bar, and that will give you 65 ticks, which is enough. Where on the S&P 500, it's about 2.5 times a bar, so it's got to go a lot further. And I just happen to have it already on here. So when I traded, I actually thought I was trading the ES, because when I opened it up, it came up with 12 ticks, and the profit and the stop was really close. So I dragged it away. Unfortunately, it moved well, but it scares me a bit. The NQ does. I'm just not used to it. It moves a bit quicker, and you know, I would say even trading 1 contract, sometimes I've taken a trade and the signal bar's been, you know, $400, $500. So It's for real men, I think. The S&P, real men or real women. I'm a bit of a coward, I am. But I'm used to this. It works for me. I don't know whether the NQ is more popular. I know people. I think Patrick trades it, doesn't he? I know Nutty does, and I know Alpine does. So it does seem more popular, but I don't know. I may have a play around with it a bit more in my downtime or something. So let's call that a break and a new high. The low volume in this morning. I don't quite know why. I mean, considering the market's been open 20 minutes, that's everything. So I'm just looking at what everybody else is looking at. Yeah, I mean, that's Thomas Wade's pretty much what I'm looking at. He hasn't got the channel up, but he's got the range. Is it a channel? It's negligible, isn't it? I don't think it's terrible. It is kind of moving up that way, isn't it? Maybe something like that. Sometimes the more shallow these things are, the less reliable. Let's try it without. So leg and a leg, and we are slowly working up, but it's just a little bit unclear at the moment. Anybody know if you can have two Discords open at the same time? I know I can flick from one to another. It'd be nice to have one side by side, but if I want to look at Thomas's, I've got to flick over and scroll down. If I want to look at Dan's, is there a way of opening two actual Discords so I could just pop them side by side? Okay, Dan's just literally put that on a few minutes ago, so he's got a channel up there, so he's got it as a spiking channel from there, and in fact it was actually how I had it last. It just didn't look that, it just looked a bit shallow, but he stretches, if you notice, Dan stretches his chart out, so maybe when you do it like that it kind of does look so he's got it like that. That's good enough for me, I think. So let's put it about there, I think. Yeah, it doesn't look terrible. Yeah, when you bring it back down there, it's more sideways. But have you noticed when Wilson's charts, he has it very much like that? Sometimes it's hard to work out where things are going. I've noticed that about Wilson. He has stuff almost seems to go sideways, whereas if you do drag it out, it does kind of sort of open the picture up a little bit. Get this score open on a browser too. Okay, so if I open something like Google Chrome, I could open it that way. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, sorry, my mistake. Yeah, as opposed to having like the app. Yeah, okay, yeah, I get you. So I could open Internet Explorer or anything like that. I get confused with Wilson's charts. Yes, 5 points more. Yeah, he does have it very, very closed down. Because sometimes it's hard to know, and although you can see it's going up, it's a lot more unclear. I think if you stretch it out, it kind of does open. It's kind of like squinting, isn't it? And then when you do that, it opens your eyes. Excuse me a sec. It's fine. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, it does increase. Yes, if you look at Dan's, I mean, he has his literally stretch. I had to. He really stretches his, and I think actually that's a good thing. I think. Looking like it might be another range day. I don't mind range days. I didn't used to like them, but to be fair, whenever we get these big trading days, you don't get much anyway. So it's trying to catch it off the bottom on the way up, isn't it? Just as it kind of leaves, so you don't get in too early. He's not put a video on the last couple of days, Wilson, has he? Well, I don't think I've seen one. I usually flick through Sam's 5 traders. I usually flick through Sam's chart, see how he's getting on, and Wilson's as well. And Nutties and Alpines, just a quick flick just to see how they got on. Did they find it a tough day? And then obviously, you know, the usual place. Mac isn't back yet, is he? I haven't seen anything from Mac. If he's off to the Antarctic, I'm guessing it's quite a hike from the US. It would be. So, what is it? Did he go for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something? So, channel, break, 2 pushes. 2 new high. Only 3 weeks. I suppose if you're going to go, it's kind of a trip of a lifetime, isn't it? Something like that. It's not something you normally do. I mean, he's a fisherman, isn't he? He kind of likes his fishing trips away. I don't know if I'd like to stay in the Antarctic for 3 weeks. Mind you, it's a great experience, isn't it? I've never been anywhere. I've been a few places around France. Like I've been up in the Alps. I worked in the Alps when I was a bit younger, just for a couple of months. In the French Alps. Yeah, it's pretty cold up there, but places like that, you're kitted out for it. Fact, when I was 21, I was a chef. And when I was 21, a friend of mine worked in the Antarctic for a British survey team as a chef. And he got me an application. I applied for it, and I had an interview, and I'd just been accepted. So I was due to go down to London to get kitted out, because they measure you. Obviously, you need cold weather stuff and all that sort of stuff. So I was due to go down to London to get kitted out and then ship out in about 4 weeks. And I met my now wife, so I never went. So I would have spent some time out in that weather. So who knows where I'd have been now. So looks like we may be coming into this area here. We've got this gap from a couple of days ago, a few days ago, I think, which we haven't filled yet. I think I've got it about right, haven't we? There to there. Yeah. So, I mean, usually gaps we fill, don't we, relatively quickly, but not always. So we actually went up into it just by a touch yesterday, and then we had to pull back. So who knows? Let me have a look on the daily. What's that showing us? Leg and leg, yeah, measured moves hit. So that's the daily. So we had that push up. We did think around there we may get a pullback, and obviously we started to, and then we had the that Chinese AI news. Plus, I think Nvidia took a beating as well, which created that gap, and then that dropped down. But we are slowly now working up. So looking at this, you know, we're bouncing a few times on this, so I think it's likely, whether it's this push or maybe it comes a bit lower, but it looks like we're going to fill that gap and get up, either set over the coming days or weeks or day or however long we got a leg up there, a couple of pullbacks. So it does look like we're going to get into this gap area. So 10,000 tick chart. What's that? Okay, we're already well in. So, let's, I didn't expect that push strong straight out there like that. So, leg and a leg. So there was a measured move and it has been filled. Oh no, it hasn't. Why did someone say measured move? Someone said measured move hit. Leg. Unless they've done it from there, but it doesn't make sense if you've got to do it from there if you're going to do it from there, haven't you? Because we had the push up and then we had a correction and the push up again. So measured moves hasn't been hit. Yeah, it's not giving us much. Okay, so news coming up. This is the gap. So, nice looking channel with a break at a new high. Why does that do that? Oh, there we go. So, I don't know. Dan stretched that to that. I heard him say a while ago, if he thinks it's an overshoot, he stretches out the channel. If it fits on the midline, he considers it not. It doesn't look great to me, but it doesn't look too bad on his chart. If you stretch it out a bit, it looks a little bit neater, I think. So he's got that from, around about there somewhere. So touch, touch, touch. It's fitted on the middle line. We've had a push up to this area. Let's bring this down a bit. That. A little bit back there. That looks okay, I think. It doesn't look terrible. Touch, 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 touch. So far, so good. Let's get him down here somewhere. So we did this yesterday. Pushed out and immediately had a pullback, tried again, and then reversed. So are we doing the same? It looks like it, doesn't it? Someone doesn't want us up there. Okay, so far so good. We've got a touch there and a couple of touches there. News is in about 6 minutes. Now, the majority of the time it doesn't do much, but just on occasion it has a bit of a head turn and it can be potentially dangerous. So channel break, new high. I like that wide. It is fitting with the midline, so that looks okay to me, but I'd still like a little bit of a correction, I think. Yeah, see, so Thomas Wade's got it as an overshoot there. and he's got it from that. It actually doesn't look too bad. It's weird, isn't it? Some people's charts just look better for some reason. The bars are almost the same, but that fits relatively nice. So is that moved back because of the overshoot, or is it extended? It's hard to say, really. Now, what I've found is on an overshoot, a lot of the time it will pull back, push up, make a new high, and then reverse. But that's in a trend channel in itself, isn't it? So that's played out. So we got a touch here, and it bounced, pulled back a little bit, it bounced again, and it actually fits quite nice. So who knows? What I will say is Dan does have quite an intuition for this. Some of the stuff I've asked him and that, it just seems to make sense. He seems to really be good at this. Sometimes if I mention a trade, he'll explain why, and it kind of, I'm like, I didn't really think of that, or I didn't see it. So some people just have a natural knack for this, and I think he's one of them. Did that just drop? Or am I seeing things? It did, didn't it? Am I seeing things here? That did just drop, didn't it? How big was that? 9, 18, it had to be 20 odd. Now that's odd, that is, because we've been up here before, and look at that. It did, doesn't it? Yeah, I thought, am I seeing things here? We did the same here, and then we just tanked. So it's very similar. But the last time we came up here, it just didn't want to stay up here. And look at that, 2 big legs down. So, I mean, to push a market like that, I suppose you're going to have people taking profit, but also, sure, you're going to have sellers there, haven't you? Now, there is 2 legs back in a bullish bar, but the way that thing came down there, it's been up there twice now. I don't really want to go long into that, because that, although it is 2 legs back, would trap you. And the way that's coming down there, this is exactly what is happening. Now, funnily enough, that is a second entry long, but the way that just dropped, I won't want anything to do with going long there, and rightly so. The trouble is, because we're going up, even if there's a bullish bar here and it gives us second entry long, I still don't want to go long, and I won't want to go short either, because the bias is up at the moment. But is it? I mean, that's rejection off there, isn't it? First time came back. The second time came back, you know, a lot quicker. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars there, and we got 1 bar, which more or less makes all that up. So that is pretty significant, really. So is it the fact that we've got an overshoot new eye? Maybe not. So it's not the news, because the news isn't out yet. So let's see what happens if we get here. So there is a second entry long. Looks better on here, but after that big drop like that and a pullback, I don't really want to go long here. 1, we got the news, and 2, it's just getting a little bit unclear. So the news is coming up in about 15 seconds, so it may not do anything. Most of the time it doesn't, but just on occasion it does. Okay, doesn't look like it's going to do anything that. So it's a little flicker, nothing that I would be concerned about. So at least the news is done and dusted now. So, leg and a leg. Back to this area here. Let's see what happens. You can't just go long here. You've got to sit and wait. But it is coming down in sections, which is, which is good news. Someone did take that trade. I think as it trapped that up, I think it was coming back to here, but you don't know whether we're going to have two legs down. It's going to bounce off the top. So I wouldn't have wanted to get into anything here. I didn't want to get into a short there because you don't know whether we're going to get a double trap, triggers the short and pushes up. Leg and a leg. Often, when we get these pullbacks, it's in the shape of a leg and a leg, which that kind of was. So going short there into a bit of support and the top of this wouldn't be something I'd have done anyway. Obviously, we had that news pending, so... So there's the possibility of an overshoot, or it may be a bigger channel. So let's just pretend that maybe there is an overshoot and it's reversing. Does that look like a reversal? Not really. No, it doesn't. And even if it was channel break, we've already had a new low there, so... I'm ignoring this first one. Well, this looks like it's reversing to me. Weird, isn't it? We did exactly the same up there. Had a little pullback, had another go, and then down it came steep. Look at that. It's coming down more or less the same way, isn't it? That's weird. Oh, flipping hell, it's tanking. Look at that. That might be a strong word, but look, it's having that same... Strange, that, isn't it? Had that exact same reaction up there. Strange. So, I mean, we've come down 10, 20, nearly 30 points there. I mean, look at that. What time was that? A few minutes. So in the last 5 minutes, we've dropped 30 points. That doesn't happen every day, does it? So, am I thinking that maybe that was an overshoot? Let's put it there. Maybe it was. I mean, that's reacting like a reversal, isn't it? So, I don't know. Maybe it was because of that. We'll never know. So this is starting to look more and more like a just a range, isn't it? How weird is that it went straight up there and did exactly the same? Pushed up. No, you're not having any of it back. Had another go and then straight down. So, someone's gone long off there. So, channel break, new low. Yeah, so some have still got that channel. Are they expecting a new high? Do you really want to go long into that lot again? Second entry short, lower high, is that working? I don't know whether I fancy that. There is a failure here, but the trouble is it could trigger above these bearish bars, touch this and then drop. And I don't want to get in for 20 ticks there, right at the EMA. It could, a leg and a leg. It may come down and stop that out. Looks like it is. Is it worth taking that then? Maybe it is.
Order submitted.
Okay, I'm in for a trade. It's a bloody big one. I don't like this. I'm getting out.
Order filled.
Yeah, that's too big, that is. That's 5 points. I did that on the other chart. At least I'm out anyway for a little bit. It's too big a risk, that is. Yeah, I got in there. $500 risk. What I like is the failure triggered and you got a big bearish bar. I think it'll work, but that bar is bigger than I wanted. It's considering the ATR is only 3, so I just got out for it for $75. Trouble is, sometimes by the time you get into these, you just don't know. I think it'll work, but I liked it because it was triggering bulls, and I think it's going to come down, but I don't want to risk $500, so I just got straight out. Fortunately, I got out for a little bit of profit. It's just too much, that is. I don't want that much risk. Trouble is, until you get into a trade, sometimes you got to be that quick. You haven't always got time to weigh the risk, because we'd already had. We were already on to the next bar, and you got to make quick decisions. So, I just didn't want anything to do with that. As soon as it went into green, I just got out. I ain't risking $500 per 8 account. Well, 7 accounts. I'm not trading the 8th one because that's up quite a bit. Yeah, I don't want that risk, especially now. So when that came down there, say, trapping the longs, I'm thinking this is going to come down, especially after that rejection there. Now there's a lower high there. Something tells me just to sit tight. It doesn't look like a channel up now. It looks like a leg. It almost looks like a triple test, but I'm just sitting tight at the moment in case this looks any better. H, how you doing, buddy? Howdy doody. fact, Thomas Way's got that as a larger channel down, which would mean this is a break. Which would mean, I wonder if he did get into that. It may hold, but I don't want to be in it for $500. Not on your Nelly. Now, is that going to hold? I don't think it's going to. It may do. Could say triple test. We certainly had a couple of legs. That would have to be super bearish. No, that's no good. Just two legs. Yeah. Okay. Glad I got out of that. It came down. How much did it come down on this chart? Came down 2 3/4 points, so you'd have got 2 points off it. But nothing more. So I'm glad I got out of that. It was a bad decision. The trouble is you've got to make fast decisions sometimes, and they're not always going to be the right ones. You know, if you were scalping a 15-minute chart, you're going to have 5 minutes to sit and ponder it. But when you trade in these markets with this fast-moving price action, you really got to bar a couple of seconds sometimes to make a decision, if for that. What I liked about it is the fact that we were trapping the failure, and that usually is a good thing. That means you're trapping the longs. But then sometimes it's a double trap. Obviously, we're trapping the longs. You're coming down, you're thinking, yeah, great, we got longs here, and longs here. If this comes down, it's going to drop like a stone. And then all of a sudden, it triggers you and starts working back up. So, okay, now that would be more interesting to me. Now, that is definitely 2 legs down. Let's see if we get a lower high here. So, leg and a leg. That looks to me like it's going to come down now. So channel break, new high. It's also 2 legs and a strong push below that EMA. So this will be a penguin style trade. So I'd expect him to get in somewhere around about there. There's his stop and out for the lows. Maybe even there. Let's call it there. I think that'll work. Just need a bit of a pullback. So he'd be out on that tick of that red bar. So I don't like the way what's happening. It has triggered it, but it's not. Someone just mentioned, I feel like it's a lower high trap. We'll soon see. Is there something larger working up? There may well be. Would you want to go long there? No, I wouldn't. 2 legs up. I would say it's got more chance of coming down, but I'm staying out of it. If that was going to come down, I'd have wanted it to come down a little bit quicker. So I do think it'll work, but I'm staying out of it. No, definitely I'm staying out of it now. Yeah, good decision that was. That would be a second entry long. There's a battle going on here. It's flickering a little bit. Let's see if anybody's in this. I mean, it is 2 legs. I actually don't think it's as bad of a trade as that, but I am staying out of it. I don't like what's going on. But the fact that that bullish bar is triggered and it's coming down is telling me that's very likely to get stopped out. But it's 2 legs up and 2 legs down, so... yeah, it's going to work, I think. But how far is it going to come down? Far enough, I think. Thomas said he's going to consider a fail second entry long. So if we get a second entry long and it triggers, but is it going more sideways now? Even if I wanted to go short there, the bar is not giving me a lot of confidence. I mean, it did come down. It has come down for a bit, but we push up. 2 attempts to go low, we go up. Every day. Wait, my charts don't load correctly. Cache reset starting, nothing works. I don't know. I've not had any issues with anybody else. Have any problems with Rhythmic? It is 2 legs up. So there is a failure on the other chart, but I don't like this. It's getting a little bit choppy for me. It does look like the type of trade it'll work, but I don't like when it goes sideways. It starts to suck the confidence out of it. But we got a perfect measured leg, so you would expect it to work and for a new low. I just don't like it when it starts to go sideways and wicky and choppy. So I'm staying out of this. As I say, there is a failure here. It's a second entry long which is triggered, but it just doesn't look in a hurry to come down, and it looks to me like buyers are trying to protect this area. But it is a perfect measured leg. So it's one of these things a lot of the time that usually does work. It just messes around for a few minutes before it eventually does. But when it starts to go like that, best stay out of it. I think you just never know. Sometimes if you assume, I try not assume things now. I know I talk about I think this, I think that, but that's just my thoughts on the way the price is moving, you know, how I feel when I'm seeing it. But if you notice when I say it, I don't jump in and trade it. So it's, you know, it's just my thought process, how my kind of brain works. And sometimes if you assume because we've had 2 legs in a channel down, this thing's going to come down. And I've done this before. I'm itching to find somewhere, so I think, there we go. There's a failure. Let's go short. Triggers you, pushes up, stops you out. So sometimes when it's like this, it can be a bit unpredictable. So I try not assume now. If you assume price has got to come down because we've had 2 legs, it ain't. It can surprise you. You know, there's clearly a battle going on here. But see if you think, I'll take the failure. There we go. Finally, I've got to set up your jump in, and then what will be, will be. So let's just tuck this out the side. So, John, something I'm working on too, being reactive, not predictive. Yeah, absolutely. It's very easy to get into that habit of thinking we've had a channel down, we've had a break, we've had 2 legs up, it has to go down, and I have to find myself an entry. And if you take a half-hearted entry because you think it's going to go down and it should go down, sometimes it can shock you. So it's a good point that it's something that I've had a little bit of. It's like anything, really, isn't it? The better you get, the more you notice these things, the more you get trapped, the more you eventually learn. And a lot of times they will come down. But, I mean, look at that. It has got a habit of being stuck in this failure, thinking it's got to come down. All of a sudden, woof, up it goes. And that just comes from experience. But I still get caught in them on occasion, not as much as I used to. But I find sometimes the slower things go down, the quicker they come up, and vice versa. And the way it's doing this, there's clearly a battle going on. This area, you know, they're trying to protect. We've got a bounce here from an overshoot and a higher low. And then you take that one, thinking this is coming up. You may put your stop down here. So buyers maybe, you know, re-entering or adding on, and sellers are trying to push down. So, I mean, the way it's going like that is telling me straight away it's stay out of it. It's unpredictable. But there's so many different elements to learning to trade, isn't there? And you know, Matt goes on about it's a real skill. It takes time and experience. And the more you do this, you realise how right he is. It's just so many different elements to your package as a trader. So look at this now. So there's probably maybe a couple of shorts there thinking we've broken above there. Let's take the failure. And then all of a sudden, woof, up it goes. But it could just as quickly go down. So that's broke above this. And now we've got a big bearish bar. Well, I think it'll probably come down. But there's obviously... They're not giving up without a fight. If it gets below this one, then I think it'll be game over then. Which is there. We're not far away. A couple of 3 ticks. See, look at this on here. If you're thinking this is 2 legs up, perfect measured move, it's got to come down. Ooh, big bearish bar right off here, trapping some longs. Let's go short. Triggers you. Look at that. That's not what you want to see. Yeah, straight into panic mode when that goes up. You're thinking, we've had perfect measured leg. It's got to come down. Loads of stops down here. The thing's got to drop. Sometimes it does hold, but you wouldn't want to be in that short there, would you? It's bound to take that out, isn't it? There we go. Maybe if you got in there as well. And then often it does just work down. Sometimes it just needs to clear out. Clear out the cobwebs. Extreme to me. Yeah, I mean, once it makes multiple attempts to push, and in all fairness, if you draw this, it may have been an overshoot. If you put it there or there, if you put it, I think you've got to put it there really to start. We've already had a break and a new low, and obviously, you know, they're making attempts to push it lower. But it'll only happen so many times, and sooner or later, one side will give in. But it is very easy to assume, and I've done this, and sometimes it's like with a horse, isn't it? You've got blinkers on, you can only see what's right in front of your face, you can't see the bigger picture. And when you see 2 legs up, you see that one get stopped out, and you think, oh, damn. And then all of a sudden you see a perfect measured leg. And it looked okay on this chart. Absolute perfect measured leg, bearish bar. And don't get me wrong, it was still worth a trade if that's how you trade. It certainly came down. You'd have got plenty of points there. 80% until... Oh, it's about time. That's good. Excellent. So 80% off. And so 80% off and $35. So it's about time we had something, in all honesty. They haven't had anything for nearly a month. Price resets. $100 lifetime fees. Oh, bugger. Oh, well, it's better than 140. Okay. Okay, let's just put something on the screen. So, what's going on here? Yeah, I'm not doing anything at the moment. Excuse me a sec while I just alter this screen. So just keep that in mind. Use Lance. Oh, right. Okay. I know what you're saying. I think most of you guys know, don't you? UKFT. Yeah, just keep it in mind. It's not $85. It's $100 now, which is not terribly different, but it was better than 140. So let me just change that on the screen. Do we need to meet someday in a bar in the UK? Absolutely. I hope you can handle your liquor. Apex. There we go. Let me just adjust this. Yeah, it would be nice to do that, wouldn't it? Just meet up with everybody. Okay, so 80% off. 8 and $100 PA fee. So just keep that in mind. It's gone up from 85 to 100, but full price normally is 140. So it's not terrible. But you know, oddly enough, I'd like to have a go at Take Profit Trader. But I'm not paying $85 for an evaluation and $130 for the PA fee. It's ridiculous. Okay, this looks like it's going to come down now. So that would have been a triple test. Unfortunately, I'm still not a massive fan of this. Once it does this, it puts me off a bit. But you could consider that a triple test. We made one attempt to go over, a second attempt, and it's almost like a head and shoulders. The third attempt was lower than that. So I think this will probably come down now and break these lows. In fact, it is. It's definitely taken that out. I think it'll break that. So yeah, it took a bit of time that, but eventually, let's see if it does get down. So I'm going to have another evaluation, I think. Yeah, okay. So 80% off. There we go. Yeah, okay. It's just I've just seen that on the screen there. There we go. It's about time. They've been a bit tight lately, haven't they? They've been a bit stingy lately with their offers. They just seem to give us some. We've not had nothing really since the first couple of days of the month. So, log in. I use Sam's, I do. He's a nice guy. Okay, did get through there. I thought it might do. Usually they'll work, and I think with that added push up and cleared out some of the short stops. Yeah. I know what it is. Change of venue. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Right. I've just got another evaluation. So by the looks of this, I think there's a good chance we get a second leg down here. So let's put that there and that there, which will get us down to here. So for me, this is just looking like a range there, I think. Let's put that there and drag that over. Yeah, nothing more than a range there, I don't think. Leg and a leg. So we've been up to the same place here. So where's this going to turn? Down here maybe? May come a bit lower. But I would say I'm going to just make a note of where yesterday's lows were. Just to see if that gives us somewhere we may bounce. Volume's low as well, considering the market's kind of officially been open for an hour. Okay, where's me? Right, let me just disconnect here. There may be a setup coming up here. Couple of legs up, I'd have a go at that with evaluation. I'd like to see it down this bottom here. Get 12 more P8. I was getting scared of it. I've been up to 20 once before. Scared the life out of me. It's a lot, actually, 20. I'd like to get to 10, I think. What am I up now, 8? So a couple more. See how this one goes if we get... Are we connected yet? We should be. What's going on? Something's not working. Ah, it's loading. Okay, it's a bit slow, that's all. It's a bit slow today. Come on, I was hoping to get 2 legs up here. That's what I'm waiting on, but mine's saying still loading. Come on, speed up. That's why I was hoping a couple of legs to get back in and down. There's no setup, mate. I'm trading evaluation. I don't need a setup. Something ain't right. Let's might have to reset that. Let's have a look. Disconnect. Connect again. We don't want one of those. Quick question. Same problem. Are you really? Yeah, it's been a bit finicky today. Quick question, guys. Has anybody trade on a 4K monitor? I was just thinking about upgrading my monitor, getting a slightly wider one and maybe a 4K. Does it? Do you know if it improves the picture quality? See, I don't know whether, Ninja Trader. That's a bit better, isn't it? Or is that still? No, that's still big. I don't know whether Ninja Trader would look any better. 48. That's not right, is it? Tony. How many inches am I now? Oh, I want to keep that to myself. Let's just say big enough. Not worth. Oh, it's not worth it for trading. I didn't know. How many inches am I? 27, I think. 27. Yeah. Well, so my wife tells me no. Something's not right, is it? I'm on a 27-inch monitor, but it's just a 1080p one. I just wondered whether if you go up to 4K, it improves the picture. But obviously, Ninja Trader's got to produce it for 4K, really. I like PW 32K LG monitors 4K. Yeah. I like the idea of having a slightly wider one so I could get something maybe on the side. I wanted to get one of the curved ones as well. Any modern GPU can manage it. Yeah, I just didn't know whether, if you zoom in here, will this look better? Will this look sharper? These bars, will it, or what? I don't know. I'm going to have to try and disconnect and reconnect there. If you reload your charts this week, the chart looks different. Yeah, what I might do is just reboot it. 8 bars in that. Yeah, it's not right, is it? I've just disconnected and connected again. If it doesn't improve now, I'll just reboot it. I'll shut it down and up again. PWP. What's PW? It's LG, isn't it? Now that looks a bit better, doesn't it? How does that look? Does it? How does that look? That would be 2 legs up, wouldn't it? Perfect. Excellent. Okay, let's be interesting to see how this works, because that would work off the midline. That's good. Brilliant. Excellent. So trouble is, if you're trading evaluations, you've got to be so careful you don't hit the wrong, you don't trade the wrong let's clean this up a bit. So what I'll do, I'll trade just the evaluation on my top chart. If I take a trade, let me just open it, make
Order
sure there's
submitted.
only one that opens. Yeah, okay, so
Order cancelled.
let's put it up to 5 contracts. I don't want to go too mad. Let's change it to NQ. No, well, I kind of do. I've got Thomas Wade's here, so that's another reason why it's useful. What does that look like? Yeah, it looks exactly the same as mine. Happy days. Okay, so reaction there. Let me have a look. Custom. Oh, damn it.
Order filled.
I like the way it's reacted to there, so that's yeah, this one here. I like the way it's reacted to that overall picture. This is the NQ though. It is a second entry short, but I'm in it for just 5 contracts. It is the only one I'm doing by itself. I don't know if it's going to work, is it? I've just put it below there because there's bound to be some stops. Come on, push. I just want you to get below there. It is reacting off the bigger chart, so there's going to be some stops there. So I just want it to push for there, which would give me about half. No, it's not going to, is it? Or is it? I don't like it when it does that and comes back. Let's get a lower high. Come on. Trouble is, I've got to get somewhere down there, either I'm going to lose that drawdown. Now, it's only an evaluation. They're 80% off at the moment, so they're cheap. Struggling a bit there. So we may get a lower high. I want to try and get something out of it, but I like the fact, if I do these aggressively, I try and put them in a place where I think there's going to be stops. Come on, push below. Nearly. One more. Come on. Don't come back. I think that's going to hit there. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. But I should get something because I'll have lost $1,000 of drawdown if it doesn't push down anymore. I think it will do. Just below there. Usually it takes stops out. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so that's got me nearly halfway there anyway. So I took that purely because it's reacting off there. One of these doesn't go up while the other one goes down. So, Chris, how you doing, pal? It's all right, mate. I can't say that. Okay, Airlines went on tilt, lost an account. I know. Just when one thinks they've beaten. Yeah, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, if you remember, I don't know whether you're watching, I moved my stop on some accounts and I went down by $900 on, I think it was It might have been 3 accounts, newer accounts. So what I find is when I get new PAs, I have a tendency to get a bit too risky. And that either leads to one or two things, blown accounts or a little bit of luck. Now, I do trade them with intent, but I think the simple answer is you should trade every one of your PAs with the same as if there's $5,000 in there. Which is what I've decided to do now, is to lock all mine off. So if you're having trouble, Chris, think about getting that Guardian Angel Trader, because it'll save your ass, I promise you. It's all right. Dan's just mentioned, what trade did I take that $1,000 on? It was on the NQ. Oh, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Look. How much have you spent on eval accounts? You're on about total. Total, I think about, what did I worked it up till just after Christmas. I think it was about $22,000, I think. Total, $22,000. But I made that back last year. That's total, $22,000 total. I know Nutty just last year, well, I mean, he made some good money, but the year before, Nutty spent 40-odd thousand in a year. Yeah, 22,000 total. Because I made that last year. In fact, it was just over 22,000 because it worked out. And that's over the last 3.5 years, 22,000. And a lot of my trades were when we had the 90% off. I got through so many. It was that one, wasn't it? What am I doing? Yeah. I mean, I made 22,000 last year. Well, that's interesting.
Order filled.
I made 22,000 last year. It's all right. I've just taken a trade on the evaluation for another leg down. 22,000 last year. I'll talk in a second. It's all right. I'm just concentrating. Pull back. I'm expecting another leg down, so I've just put it there. Leg and a leg. It's bearish on the
order filled.
It's bearish on the so I've took this on the I want to get out of here.
Target filled.
Yeah, I took this on the ES. I meant to take it on the NQ. I wouldn't take this with my accounts, although it's working there, but It's a bit sideways here. Sorry, I was thinking of what I was saying. Nutty talked about his experience with evals. He would buy 20, immediately blow them. Yeah, I've done that. Not with 20, but I've blown 10 in a night for sure. Said he blew them once quick, could reset them. Yeah. I tell you what, mate, the more money you've got, the more money you can put into this. Now, fortunately for Nutty, he had a good year last year. So he's more than, what did I move that? Oh, he's more than covered for himself. So I'm definitely in the green for sure. Yeah, 22,000. I made 22,000 last year and 8,000 the year before, so $30,000. I was down 22, but I put in another 10 of my own money, also with buying the computers and the Ninja Trader license. So I think I'm up probably. I'm in the green now, about $5,000. That doesn't include some money I've made from affiliates. As you know, I tend to average around about $1,200. So that's more than paid for my... so that's how I used to look at it. The affiliates kind of paid for my sort of learning process, if you know what I mean. So, oh, that's nice of him. Yeah. Second. Excuse me, sorry. What was I saying? Where was I? Yeah, so this year is when I'll start to really make some money. But look, the way I look at it, if you're spending money at this, so if you live in the UK, if you live in the UK and you did a degree, now I've got a cousin of mine is a teacher. He's an English teacher, and he went to university for 3 years. Now, did you pass? No. I actually came out there. I should have left it. It's up $1,400. I actually went short there. I wish I left it then. But I'll do it in a minute. You got to be careful, really, if you're not focusing on what I'm doing. And if I'm chatting, I got to be careful not to accidentally get into some of these. But so yeah, I mean, if you can spend a lot of money learning to trade, everybody does. Some, the more money, spare money you've got, the easier you can throw money into it. So I've got a cousin who went to university over in the UK, and the cheapest university courses in the UK, and they've probably gone up a bit, £10,000 that is per year. So a 3-year university degree will cost you £30,000. Now that doesn't include books, materials. That doesn't include paying for accommodation if you go to university away from your hometown, which many do. So what you're effectively doing when you're learning to trade is you're paying for education, just like you do in most walks of life. Now, a lot of university degrees are 5 years and in some cases more. So, a lot of students leave with considerable debts. So I tend to look at it. Someone mentioned it to me about 12 months ago. You're just buying an education as you would do if you were at a university. I'm not sure how it works in the US. Do you pay for... I know if you go to places like Scotland and Wales, universities, there's no fees. It's free. So we tend to get shafted over here. But so the way I saw it is I was paying for an education. I knew after I'd been trading for a few months, it's something I wanted to do. And I've always had the attitude that if there's something I really want to do, I'll do it one way or another. Am I ever going to run the 100 meters in 10 seconds flat? No. But as long as it's doable, I've got the sort of patience and determination and stubbornness to do it. So I thought it was worth the investing. But fortunately, and I am fortunate, that you guys have used my affiliate link, which doesn't cost you anything extra, but it's helped me along the way. It's enabled me to give up work. I worked part-time for a while, but it's enabled me to manage so I can kind of put as much time in. So I'm fortunate. Not everybody is lucky like that, but I am, and I appreciate it. But you are paying for an education. You just got to be very careful with it because it's so easy to throw money away. And I had that attitude for a long time. The more money I throw at it, the quicker I'll get there. And it actually works the complete opposite. Always my friend we use. I appreciate that, Karina. I know you don't have to. You can use anyone's code. I know you don't have to, but it's nice that you do. And it does help me. It enables me to sort of, learn to do what I'm passionate. So I'm lucky there. Not everybody has that same opportunity. A lot of, at least it covers, and it has done. It's covered the evaluations and the PA fees. So, but I like to think, you use my code, I'm here for a chit chat or a chin wag or whatever you want to call it. And I try and, make myself available. In fact, that actually sounds like I feel like I'm obliged to. No, that's not true. I don't say to people, if you want to message me for a chat because I feel obligated because you use my code. I do because training is my interest as well as my job. And I like talk. Well, you guys know that by now. No one message me and gets ignored. I like chatting. It's just like chatting with your mates. You guys really are kind of like my work colleagues. There's nothing worse than being stuck in a room by yourself for 3 or 4 or 5 hours or whatever. And it's quite a lonely old business. And it's never more lonely than when you're learning to trade, because not only are you struggling, you're getting battered financially as well. So it's nice to have people to share it with, because, you guys may learn something from me. I learn something from you. I like you. We get Dan on here. We know what Dan's capable. We're lucky enough to be in Dan's, and we've got Thomas Wade's as well. And I bring these in from time to time, and a few of you guys will use them as well. But I don't think when you're learning to do this, you can never have enough friends in this business. I can't tell you how many times I messaged Marco or messaged Dan when I couldn't sleep at night. Fortunately, you guys are 5 hours behind me in the US, or 5 to 8 hours. So I had sleepless nights if I couldn't work something out. And Dan or Marco or people like Jope as well is another one who helped me out a lot. And a bunch of other people. And, which is why I said even down the road, I'd never ever charge anybody for anything that I do, because I've had loads of help for free. No one's, Dan's never charged me. Marco's never charged me. So I kind of think as you get a bit more experience, you pass it on. You help the newer people out, and vice versa. Did you quit your job as a truck driver? Well, what I was a bricklayer, and I worked on site a lot. And then years ago, I did some driving. And the good thing about driving HGV, which is class 1 in the UK, Arctics, articulated vehicles, you know what they are. There's a shortage, and the money's quite good. You can average about £20 an hour, which is $25 an hour. So, and there's loads of work, and you can pick and choose your hours. So what I did for probably the first sort of 18 months is I work Saturdays and Sundays. So I do like a 10 to 14 hour shift Saturday, Sunday, and then I trade in the week. So it kind of, helped me give an income. But then last year, as I say, as well as having the affiliates, which kind of paid for me, the evaluations and that, I managed to earn something. So I could then, because my wife works hard as well. She's not a fantastic wage, but she does okay. But we're not loaded. We're comfortable. Can we afford holiday once a year? Just about. That's about it, though. But me and my wife talked about it extensively, that it was going to take some time. Well, first I told her it would take a couple of months. When we can do, yeah, my wife's actually, she's a lot more supportive of me than I thought she would, because I've always been on the lookout for something better for your family. So I've always kind of gone from one idea to the next, trying to make things better. So, my wife's kind of heard that story before, but she supported me all the way. So it is good to have a partner, isn't it? Just to listen to you, because I know sometimes if I talk about trading to her, I can see it go straight one ear and out the other, which is why I like getting messages from people and chat with you guys, because it's boring by yourself. And when you're struggling, that boring is just even worse. It's depressing at times. Support. So absolutely, mate. Yeah, my wife is also supportive. Also, Sarah will be raking in. Well, I'll tell you what I said. After the first 12 months, I'll be earning $10,000 a year. And after the first 12 months, I said by the end of 2 years, I'll be earning $10,000 a year. And I said the same with the third, $10,000 a month. And I said the same with the third. And the more you get into it, the more you realise how difficult and how much time it takes. But I've hit a turning point now. Now, there has been times in the past I've thought, I've got it now. And then all of a sudden you get smacked in the face and you're thinking, what the hell happened? But now is different, because I've been hit that many times now. I'm getting numb to it, and I'm starting to realise, don't do stupid things. It just doesn't work. And I had a message. Well, I had a phone call from a US guy called Joe. This was about 2 years ago. And do you know what he said to me? I had to phone you. He was talking on the stream, and he said, I had to get your number and phone you because you're exactly the same that I was. You were doing exactly the same thing, and I went down to one loss max a day. And I got to say, when he said that, I went, yeah, that's a good idea. I might start doing that. And I knew in the back of my head, hey, Jan, how you doing, bud? I knew in the back of my head I wasn't going to listen, because, I knew better. But funnily enough now, 2 years later, or 2.5 years later, what am I taking? One loss a day. So he was right. So it's not easy, but my belief is the reason it's got such a big failure rate is because people give up, because they expect things to happen too quick. I did. Fortunately, I'm stubborn and I keep coming back, but I love a challenge, and I love not being beaten by something. So fortunately, I can get battered, and don't get me wrong, I've been in tears a couple of times, but a couple of days later, fortunately, I've been able to come back with a vengeance. I'm lucky. It's not because of I'm a fantastically driven person. I'm just fortunate. I'm a bit stubborn, and this is something I want to do. Who doesn't want to work 3 hours a day? You know what I mean? But it's nice to share it with someone, especially this business. It's a lonely old road to start to get to the stage where you feel like it's not all been a waste. And it is nice to share it with someone. Absolutely 100%. Sam, how you doing, buddy? You have to put in the screen time. Absolutely. I have asked myself the question, is 3 hours a day enough? Now, I've chatted with Marco about this, and I know he said 3 hours a day and he's like a zombie. But I didn't always do that. There were times where I was trading 5, 6 and 7 hours a day. And sometimes after the stream, I'd be itching to come back, and I would. But yeah, absolutely good points. You never understand emotional journey required. Absolutely you don't, mate. You really don't. And I've said this before, I never really understood the meaning of the word a journey until I started to trade. And it's almost like growing up. You do that whole journey from 0 to 16 years old, and you learn a lot and you grow up, and it's that kind of coming of age. And I know it sounds a bit corny, but it's that coming of age and learning about yourself and facing your fears and you know, getting slapped down and getting back up. I never thought I'd be the type of person which would put up with so much. And I know at times, I know my wife and daughter used to dread me coming down, not because I'm nasty or violent or I shout and scream, just because I was just damn right miserable all the time. So it is a real journey. So if you're newish to it, just put up with it. But what will make that journey easy is just be careful how much you spend. You know, I know some YouTubers and some Facebook groups will try and ram evaluations down your throat just for money. Yeah, I get it, absolutely. You know, everyone's out to try and make money, but never, ever, ever, when you're learning, have more than one evaluation at once, because all you're going to do is trade. You're going to get a copy trader, think you're going to make a fortune, and you're going to just throw money after money away, and it financially cripples you. I can bet lots of people have got in severe debt learning to trade, what with credit cards and stuff. So just be careful how much you spend. You know, when you want to start getting into it, never ever use your own money until you're a seasoned trader. You know, you've been doing it a few years and you know what you're doing and you're confident that you're not going to throw it away. But yeah, I don't mind losing trades, even a PA, due to normal losses. What frustrates me is having technical issues. Yeah. Fortunately, touch wood, apart from that little finicky bit with my software issues have been okay. I know last year it was a nightmare with Rhythmic when it constantly breaking down, and then sort of Apex kind of indicating that it was something that we were doing, something to do with the software or your machine's not quick enough. And the trouble is, when you don't know, what do you do? So, what do we do here? But yeah, emotional journey is, I've never experienced nothing like this. Never. I've never had a job that's been this difficult. With Apex, resetting people's accounts due to mass issue. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you a quick story. I actually blew 5 PAs once. It's probably about a year and a half ago. I blew all 5 of them. And I was absolutely sick. And they'd had issues with Rhythmic, and it was back then when they just reset everyone's accounts. So I woke up the following morning, all my accounts were there with $1,000 in each. Was I a happy boy then? But you know, I've said before, anytime you guys want to message me for a chit chat for whatever reason, doesn't matter. Make sure you do. Just trading's an interest to me, and I can just chat about it quite happily all day long. So what is going on? So I got halfway through an evaluation there. I trade the valuations now on the NQ if I'm trading aggressively, because they don't seem to need to go as far. But if you are trading the valuations along your PAs, be careful you don't get the two confused. I got $120 away from a payment once and accidentally traded 10 contracts. And it went against me for $800, so just be really careful if you're ever doing that. So, push up, break, new high. It's going a bit sideways here, so it's hard to know exactly what's going on today. I did put this down here because we got yesterday, it was quite rangy. We almost got to the same height there. We had that same rejection, especially that second time it dropped. And we had exactly the same there, didn't we? I mean, that bar, as soon as we hit that level, we had that big bar which just dropped and then down it came. So I did put a line down here for yesterday's lows. We almost got to yesterday's highs, so if we do get out this range, we may get down here. So I just wanted to be aware. We traded on the thousands. I've got it on the 2000 tick chart, bud. just for this evaluation. In fact, if we get a couple of legs here, I may have another go there. But I am trading these aggressively. We may have had a break in a new low there, but if that does work, channel break, new low, couple of legs up. I mean, it's bearish at the moment, I think. My thought process is, so that is almost a measured leg. Well, it's just over, so let's see how it sits on there. So you've got to be a bit careful about going short here. So if I do take a trade on an evaluation, I'll drag it in. So that's the NQ up there. This is the ES. I do prefer this for trading my normal accounts because it's a little bit slower and less scary. Yeah, it can feel like your soul's been... I can't tell you how many days I felt super miserable all the time. Definitely affects your mood. It certainly did for me. But after a while, things just start to have less of an effect on you. And that's when things start to change, but it doesn't all take its time. So... we got overnight lows here and we've dropped out. We've had a channel with a break in a new low and we've pushed back in and we're bouncing off this. So it's kind of rangy as well, but I wouldn't be too super keen to go long just yet in case this just decides to continue down. And not only that, it has played out. There's a bit of support here, so it's hard to know exactly whether this thing's going to go down. Up. Let's have a look. Have we got the see, that's Dan's latest chart there, which was 57, which was 15 minutes ago. So he's not got that there as a channel. Some have, he has. So let's have a look at Thomas's. What's that? That was 30 minutes ago. So he hasn't. He's just got it down as two legs. So yes, it may be and it may not be. I mean, we've got a touch and a couple of touches. I mean, it's working within there, but I wouldn't. Yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But yeah, it didn't have none of that. As soon as it went up there, I thought I was seeing things for a minute. We had a drop of about, it was a fair drop, 7 points maybe, but it just dropped, didn't it? I thought, there you go, maybe two legs back. But the way that dropped down there, I just didn't fancy going long because that, to me, it's hit that level 3 times now. And I did notice that yesterday we kind of did the same thing. We had a bit of a pullback, didn't we? We went up and then the thing just dropped. It came down about 40 points relatively quick, so it doesn't seem to like being up there. So maybe a triple test. It's not a strong enough bar that for me to go short. You may look at these. There is a second entry long, but I don't know. It's a bit sideways here to go short because it may just trigger you and push up and stop you out. So we've broke below overnight lows. We've pushed back and dropped back. So I'd say now either this is going to go down or something else is. So I'd say my next level is likely to get down is here. I would have thought so. Maybe on a bigger chart it would be leg and a leg. So our friend Marco has got this touch. So that actually looks kind of nice. So I'm guessing that's the bottom section of this. So that might be a better. See, I would have avoided that area personally because I thought there's some stops there. But when you put that there all of a sudden, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So, and the bottom does. So that's probably why it has eventually dropped, because it's right in that line, isn't it? Anyone else having problems with Trade of 8 data? I'm not using it at the moment, but anybody else? So what I will do is just kill the colour on that. Touch, but then this fits kind of nice, doesn't it? The bottom fits nice as well, so so if we get rid of that, let's say, yeah, sometimes if you just remove something, things come a bit clearer and that looks a bit better. So I wonder where that measured leg will take us. Below yesterday's lows. So, and funnily enough, if you take the difference between the top and the top there, this was a bit lower, and you take a difference between the bottom, that'll actually probably get very close to a measured move. So maybe on a bigger chart, let's have a look. Let's put that there. Yeah, look at that. Slightly higher, but yeah, maybe on a bigger chart. See, that may just be a couple of legs. Tony just took a trade. 4 contracts. I think I was on 1 because I had to restart the wealth chart. I use those wealth charts. That's kind of why I avoided it. Not because I didn't think it was any good. The trouble is, when you get used to a platform, and I've been using NinjaTrader now for 3+ years, 3.5 years, so I never have any issues with it, as in there's never, I don't know what to do, I know how it works. So anybody else having any issues with Trade of 8? I don't know whether most of you, I have a feeling most of you use Rhythmic, don't you? In fact, what I will say is when I've used Trade of 8 with my funded futures, it's a lot easier to log in. And but what I like with Rhythmic is you've got all this. Now, possible second entry short here, but I'm not sure about this because there's a little bit of bottom in there. The setup doesn't look too bad, but that context is unless we're retesting the underside of this. I kind of hope that bar doesn't finish bearish. It's not going to, I don't think. I cleared out the cash minute, day by day, follows restarted, resolve. Excellent. Just incidentally, from a NinjaTrader point of view, there's I can't drag it on, or can I? No, I can't. Apex Desktop Assistant, what that does is that click, yeah, I've shown you. So I double click it, it should open up here, I think. Famous last words. Oh, it's up there. Let's have a look. Yeah, here. If I double click it and click this, it click NinjaTrader clear, and it clears everything. And I do that every day, so I hopefully then never have any issues with any type of lagging or anything clogging up. So, would we consider this a triple test up here? So if you like that channel, this is definitely a break. Maybe this is a triple test. Now, my experience tells me don't get in too early if it is. Wait for it to get up here. A lot of times it will trigger you, stop you out, and then end up... Let me just put that bigger chart down there as again. Let me just check we're not coming up to that line. So, 1, 2, 3. I suppose you could consider this a triple test. I'm just sitting tight at the minute because we're kind of still in here. Excuse me a sec. I'm just going to take a quick bathroom break. Not the ideal time, but I'll be about a minute. Quick minute. Okay. So, what I will say, channel down. I'm just going to get rid of that a minute. That looks like a channel down to me. 2 attempts to push. I'd be interested to see how it reacts to this line. But if it does, I'd rather catch it down here somewhere and not get in too early. I've assumed this thing is going to bounce sometimes when we get a little reaction. So, Thomas Wade's, he's put that big line there now, so just drag that in. So he's aware of it. So patience is a virtue when we're getting to here. Sometimes you get the slightest bearish bar and you get a bit excited and jump in. Okay, let's see if we get a reaction. I'm only really going to get interested if we push below that EMA because we may just get a break here. You may think short and you jump in and it pushes up for a new high. But we have had a bounce here, so whether... So we're above it now, so maybe... That's not going to work that way, is it? If that was a measured leg, we've pushed past that. So this to me now really is just looking like a bigger range. That to me doesn't look like it's pulling back from everything. It looks like it's reversing, I think. It's a bit early just to assume that, but let's stretch this out a bit. So, I mean, there's still always that possibility that there is a channel like that. We've had a break. We've touched it once, twice, and luckily we've come up there again. It might be a bit early. Can you tell me a little how Take Profit Trader works? So, how it works, I'm not what I would consider up to scratch. What I will say is it seems to have a very good rating. It seems quite professional. I only hear good things about it. Now, they used to have the $1,200 loss, where if you took $1,200 loss, it would forfeit your account. You would blow your account effectively. They'd remove that. So they do say you could get paid after 1 day, but you've got to make a stack of money for it. I think it's a 40% consistency rule, which is it's better. I don't know a huge amount about it, but it's $85 for the evaluation and $130 if you go on to PA, which I think is expensive. I would say My Funded Futures is a better option. My Funded Futures is $97. If you pay by ACH, I don't exactly know what that is. It is expensive. I think My Funded Futures is a better option at the moment. They do. I mean, if you look at Kellyanne, watch any of her videos, she seems to rate at the top spot Take Profit and My Funded Futures. So I would say My Funded Futures half the price. Comes in at $97, and there's no fees when you move on to a PA. So I think that's a better deal. They do seem to rate very closely. They have a good name, I think. So it's probably about as much as I could say, mate, really. But what makes Take Profit more attractive now that they've lost this $1,200 rule, but it's expensive. I mean, you know, they're selling it as 50% off, but it's still $85. That's just for the evaluation. So it's not something that I would use at the moment. You know, I mean, if you're looking for a second out, if you've got 20 Apex accounts and you want to grow and you're confident you know what you're doing, then you might find it's worth the investment. But for me, it's too much. No rules and payout. I think it's a 40% consistency rule, which is better. You know, because if you're the type of trader that, you know, likes going for bigger moves, you know, that the sort of the bigger that the consistency rule is, the bigger the percentage it is, you know, you can go for bigger moves. Paid in 24 hours, I believe you've still got to have over $2,000 odd in there. So, I mean, you would have to make 2,000 plus in a day, which sounds to me, you know, like a bit risky anyway for a 50k account. So, but yeah, have a look, see what you think. For me, My Funded Futures is a better option. They're very similar. They have the same rating. And it works out less than half the price, or about half the price, just under. So yeah, it's trial and error, my friend, I think. But yeah, it's expensive, I think. They're worth it with the promo no activation that comes along once in a while. Apex still great with sales, yeah. Yeah, see, they're selling it as 50% off, but I thought that's really good, 85, but I didn't realise you still got to pay 130 for the fee. What's he thinking? Just get more PAs of them and ignore. Well, I've talked to people, and I've thought about it, and it doesn't concern me that they've got some lawsuits. That's business. If you have ex-employees that feel disgruntled, it happens. It's a civil matter. So that doesn't concern me now. We did look at the figures, and Apex was making a fortune. They're making millions. So there's not a company you want to throw away. And they're obviously spending time and money and advertising into this new charts, these wealth charts. So they don't come across to me as a business that are turning up the toes and thinking they're not going to be around. So I'm not really concerned. And I'll be 100% honest with you. I have had a few amounts of money denied, but I did break the rules. I took too much of a risk. But every account I follow the rules, I've been paid. So I'm okay with them. But what I will say, it's always good to diversify a little bit. Have half a dozen with one and half a dozen with another. So I think it's always good not to have all eggs in one basket. But I'm not concerned with Apex. They've paid me. They've never had any issues. Now, some people might say you're a YouTuber. I'm small fry compared to some. I don't consider myself as a YouTuber. I don't make videos. I don't promote myself. I don't ask for likes or stuff. I'm just here just for some company, really. So, being, a guy who's on YouTube, I'm not going to do any damage to Apex. So they don't, I'm not valued in any point. I'm just like you guys. I'm a nobody to them. I'm just a tick in the book. Tradeify best. Now, yeah, Apex always has issues with Plane. I think, so I'll tell you what happened is, because it took a few days, as you know, Karina, to get my money. I never had a thing from Plane. And then I had a thing from Plane. Now, when I've been paid in the past with Plane, usually when you get an email that says we've sent it to your account, it's usually within an hour. It took a couple of days, so I messaged them, and they said that they'd moved Apex to a different provider, and this first payment time takes an extra 48 hours, but it should so I mean, I've had my money going, as you see, I showed you the my emails from Plane. Let me just drag it out of the way. Where is it? Apex account set up. Have a look. I deleted them. No, I should have done. Yeah, here's another one. I'll just show you a bit of it. Good things are coming in. So I got that yesterday. I just withdrawn $500 from two other accounts. So I got that yesterday. So it's been approved quickly. Now, they've told me your money's expected to arrive Monday the 3rd. What is it? Thursday today. So usually it's a couple of days, but I think that's down to Plane, to be honest with you. But I'm okay with that. It's quick. It got approved in less than 24 hours. Now, we could only... It used to take a lot longer, didn't it? You could only, claim for or put in a withdrawal request twice a month. I mean, going back a year or so, you had to trade for 25 days before you could take a penny out. So I'm okay with Apex. I try and take things I hear with a pinch of salt. I don't necessarily panic when I hear something negative, because I know, this is a cutthroat business. Everyone's out there for your money. I know how it works. So I think our edge is ones that works with Apex rules. Yeah, I think Apex, when they started adhering to those rules, just did it the wrong way, and that's why they got such a backlash. If they said, okay, from next month onwards, we are going to start adhering to the rules. If you break the rules, your payments will be on hold, blah, blah, blah. But all of a sudden, they just sent a blanket thing out. You broke the rules, you don't get your money. And, you know, it got a lot of people's backups, and they know that. You know, businesses are not all plain sailing. They made a mistake. They knew that, and they kind of admitted it, didn't they? It would have been better to give people a bit of notice, and that's what got a lot of people's backup. So, but I've noticed they've not said a lot lately. They've been quite quiet, and in all honesty, I think that's the best form of action to take. They've got to let people forget, let people talk about it, forget about it, put it beside them. So they've kind of gone into sit back, quiet mode, stay out the limelight type of thing, and I think that's a sensible thing to do. So I'm okay with Apex Smoke. Tradeify, I don't know a lot about Tradeify, but I believe they do straight to funded. Now, at the moment, I'm giving a little bit of time, because I remember a lot of people were talking about fast track trading, straight to accounts, straight to live accounts, straight money. And I didn't want to jump in there. I'd like to sort of let the tests carry on, let people, get some experience and see how I feel. And I'm glad I didn't have anything to do with them, because obviously we know what happened. Now, it must be absolutely gut-wrenching to know that you've worked your ass off, paid for these accounts, and maybe had 10, 20, 30,000, maybe a lot more, and expecting that to get paid, and all of a sudden you realise they've gone bankrupt or whatever they're doing. It must be absolutely gut-wrenching to lose that money. So, new companies that come in, I'd like to give them a little bit of time, get a feel from first before I sort of throw money in. Rise is a better system. They used to pay with Rise. But what Rise used to do is they took a bit of a fee. So what I did in the end is I had it, because obviously we're a little different over here in the UK. So I paid, I think it was £10 a month for a Revolut Steel account. And I had then my money paid in dollars, because part of having a Steel account is you can exchange whatever currency to whatever currency at current market rate without any fees. So, yeah, I like Rise. I never had any issues. They were quite quick. And then obviously when, things change, I don't understand why these things happen, but sometimes they do. I mean, Apex, I think, were relatively new to this business when they went into it, and they grew that fast overnight. People just can't cope with that speed of growth. And they had some hiccups, and they got crucified for it. And it's just kind of the way it is. If people have paid money for something, they want it to work, and they want it to work now. They're not prepared to wait, and that's fair enough. So yeah, Tradeify, I think they're quite expensive, aren't they? These straight to funded. I'm not up to paying $300, $400, $500 for an account. I'd rather sort of work a bit slowly, I think. But if I started making a ton of money, then maybe I would pay for it. But so, guys, what's going on here? Apex use plane. How does that work? You just provide. Yeah, so if you've not got a plane account, what you do is if I remember rightly, you email Apex and they will contact Plane with your details, and then you will get an email with an invite to open a Plane account. So you go into Plane. They're a massive provider. They just pay wages. So you go into Plane, fill in the relevant forms. You'll see Apex up in the corner because they've invited you. And that's pretty much it. Apex will pay your money in. You'll go in there beforehand, put your bank details in where you want Plane to send them to. I have mine into my Revolut account, and that's pretty much it. Takes a little bit the first time you've done it, but once you've been paid once, and everything's set up, is pretty straightforward. First thing you'll know, you'll get an email from Plane saying good things are coming your way. Apex have paid you money. It'll be in your account in a few days, and that's pretty much how it works. It's initiated when you take. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done it, so what I would do is just email or message, open up a ticket, message Apex and say, I want to set a playing account up for a payment. I'm a Europe or a UK trader. What do I do? But I wouldn't wait until you go to get a payment. Get it done early, bud. And then they will take your details, pass them on to Plane, and Plane will then, I think, pretty sure the invite comes from Plane, then you'll just go in. It's just like anything, signing up an account. But once you've done it once, that's it. Unless they decide to move to another provider and then another provider. So, is this thing now moving up? Not sure, really. If we've got that account, that channel, you maybe expect a retest. It doesn't look to me like price is strong enough to push up because we're finding a bit of support, maybe. I do wonder whether this is going to come down and retest these lows and maybe even get down to this level. So we've had a strong move up with a break at a new high. We're having another go now. So doesn't look like a channel moving up rather than maybe a bit of a range. So it's hard to say at the moment exactly what's happening here. So we've had a break and two legs at an angle. So it doesn't to me look like this is going to continue up. It may do, but we've had a break. It's kind of like one of Penguin's set up this. We have a break, made two attempts to push higher. If this thing goes through that EMA and fails, I think it'll at least go to the bottom, possibly work lower, but that's just call it an educated guess. But yeah, it's not difficult. I know it's easier for you US guys because obviously you pay from the US. I think they can put it straight into your bank. Things have gone a bit quiet, haven't they? Okay, so channel break, one attempt to go higher, second attempt to go higher. Now, if this fails below that EMA, this would kind of be a Penguin style trade. Let's see if it does, which is now looking unlikely. It doesn't look like, sometimes we'll get like a bull flag type thing, but usually that kind of sort of manifests itself like this. That doesn't look like it's going to, does it? But FX teacher, sorry bud, I think our edge is one of the only ones that works with Apex rules. Yeah, we don't, it's pretty straightforward, ours, isn't it? It's about as straightforward as you get. It's nothing too technical, is it? we kind of go for, so I don't know, anywhere from a couple of points, a point to 3 points, somewhere around about there. But yeah, we don't sort of go for any big moves where it would maybe affect your drawdown. We don't add 2 trades. We don't dollar cost average or anything like that. So yeah, from Pat's point of view, it's pretty straightforward. It's cut and dry, really, isn't it? There's no real surprises for us. Whereas obviously, I think you can dollar cost average in now, or you can do it once or twice, I think, or once per trade. I think you can do once if you're in the red. I've never quite understood the concept of, if prices going against you, adding to it. What I will say, sometimes if you've got a trade here and you add to it, it does bring it down a touch. So whether that has something to do with it, but there's so many different ways to trade these markets that I don't even think I've scratched the surface of how many there is out there. There's loads of weird and wonderful things I hear every day that go straight over the top of my head. Trader 5 best. Yeah, I had a quick browse, and I think they were quite pricey, weren't they? £500 dollars or something like that. Don't get me wrong, if you're a seasoned trader and you're just totting up as many as you can to make money, it's probably worth it, but I've not got a massive amount of excess cash just yet, so I like to just, when I make a bit of money, I like to just add a little bit to it. Sometimes if you grow too quick, I mean, I went up to 20 accounts at one point. That was just too much. I wasn't emotionally stable enough to handle that many accounts. I got to say, I was scared to get in. So I think, what am I up to, 8 now? So I think once you can get a few, I think get up to 5, manage them for a bit, and then just slowly add 1 or 2 here or there. But once you've got some, if you can get 5 up to, say, $5,000, you can start to, even if you pay yourself $1,000 a month, it's not so scary then. But when you take on 20 and they're all at 0 and you're trying to build that all at once, if one trade goes wrong, 19 others go wrong as well. So it was just too emotionally tough for me. I couldn't cope with it. So I ended up losing them in the end. Sometimes trying to run before you can walk's just so problematic. So is this thing going to continue up? It's struggling to me. It's if it gets above these areas, then it may have a little bit more of a push. But if you like that channel, I don't think it looks terrible. It may come down again. Let's leave that there a minute. Yeah, it just doesn't look like it's got enough momentum, this. There is any specific DCA rules now? No, I think you can only, I've never quite understood, if you're going along and price is coming towards you, I've never quite understood the idea of going along, adding to them. It doesn't make sense. But I believe if you're in the red, you can add once, I think. Obviously, if it's going up, you can add as many times as you want. I mean, you know, you can't tell traders not to do what makes perfect sense. If the thing's going up and you're, you know, riding up here and you get little pullbacks, it makes sense to add on. That makes perfect sense. But I understand that if it's coming down, you know, if I've got 2 contracts and my order's here, my stop's down here, if I add another 8 to it, it'll drop my order down. So effectively, it sort of brings you closer to price. But as it's coming towards you going long, it doesn't seem to make much sense. Let's see if this tells us anything. So, let's move down. We're up to the 50% level at the moment. It does seem to be losing a bit of momentum, but it did this the other day and all of a sudden started pushing strong. So if it gets above areas where there may be stops riding this for a second leg, it may get a bit more momentum, but I don't know whether this is just kind of make an attempt to push higher and eventually going to fail and come down. But we've got this 50% level, which is just above that midline. And I don't think it wants to get any more than that, does it? Which is kind of where that is. So, yeah, see what I mean? It starts to struggle, and then it did that a couple of days ago, started to struggle, and then woof, up it went. So there's bound to be some liquidity there, isn't there? Somewhere around about there. PCA is permitted as long as it does not violate any of the consistency rules. Yeah, the only thing I wasn't sure about is if you're in the red, you can only add one. I might be wrong, but it's something I don't do, so I wouldn't swear to it. But I think if it's going in your direction, you can add as many times as you want, I think. Oh, that was earlier, was it? I got you. Okay. I was hoping, because I know when Daryl came out 6 months ago and said they were going to change some rules, and they did talk about moving to the 40% consistency rule. But that 30%, I think it changes, doesn't it? Well, no, tell a lie. The 30% stays the same, but I think, certainly me, I don't know whether anybody else does, I think the 30% is around about £750 or $750, because I'm going on the 2600 drawdown. But if you've got $10,000 in your account, you could make $3,000 and you would still be in it. So it's 30% of your current pot or drawdown while you're under the $2,600. So if you've got $10,000 in your PA account, you can make $3,000 profit, no problem. So yeah, I have that $750 figure in my head, but if you've got more than $2,600, that starts to increase. So is this thing reversing? It could well be. As I say, there's bound to be stops around here. If we've got a leg down and a correction, mind you, if you've got a leg down and a correction, surely you'll be coming out down here anyway, won't you? But it doesn't always work that way, does it? So usually when it hits areas like this, it does kind of have a little bit of a surge, doesn't it? So we're getting above here now. That I would have expected stops, but surely leg down, correction, you'd have taken your profit here, if not down here. So this is just looking like a range, I think. That's not going to come back down now to the bottom, is it? It's heading for the hills again. So pretty much really up, down, up. It's just ranging. Oh, I know. I was going to mention that. Caught the news late last night. That Black Hawk helicopter and that commercial airliner collided, didn't they? Was that in Los Angeles? What the hell was that Black Hawk doing there in the flight path of a commercial airliner? That's what it was. I caught was on a training flight. Okay. That can't have been pretty with them rotor blades going round. The thing is, surely, aviation interests me as an interest, but I don't pretend. Obviously, Jan, you'll know a lot more about that. But why was it in that vicinity, really? Places like that. I mean, you would know you were in the area of commercial airliners taking off and landing and or whatever they do. I can't remember how. I mean, it could have been considerably worse, couldn't it? It could have been a lot larger aircraft with a lot more people on. It could have been a lot worse, but I've not really. It was kind of late last night. Everything obviously was dark, so I suppose the true nature of it and the exactly lives lost and all that will probably come out today. Let's have a look later. I was watching a program the other day about what's the Emirates. They've been in business, Emirates, I think for about something like 35 years and never lost an aircraft. Airline flight is so much safer than it used to be. 35 years, something like that, 35 years, over 30 years and never lost an airliner. That's great, isn't it? And I do like the fact that whenever they do have these kind of tragedies, everything is investigated and they put things in place to try and stop it happening again. It kind of just makes aircraft more and more safe every day. That's what you want. So it does look like 2 legs up. It's relatively clear, that, isn't it? So we're above this area now, so it is pushing up. So you'd have to think... are we going to get back into this gap area? Because that was a fair-sized gap. I thought, after that push-up, we're eventually going to make it, but then we did that it did a U-turn, didn't it? And same again. We had that one bar that just dropped, didn't it? And then eventually it came down with a bit of a correction, then down again. So not a huge amount of volume today, but it's just a bit sedentary, isn't it? A little bit sideways. I wanted to get in there. I really did. But I wasn't sure whether we'd had an overshoot. So I kind of... if I remember rightly, I did get in there, didn't I? But then I got out. It was a bit stacked. I just like the fact that we had the trap, didn't we? We had the fail second entry short. Triggered above, came down nice and bearish. Now, ordinarily, you'd think that would work, but something spooked me and I got out of it. And luckily, I made a good decision because it would have stopped me. I'll tell you why it was. It was $500 risk. It was huge. Hard trade. Yeah, it's a good exercise. It's a good exercise in patience today. I don't mind days like this sometimes. But I think that was an okay trade. But then that kind of went sideways. That's not what you want to see, is it? I think 2 legs up like that. But it's a bit finicky. It's a funny day, isn't it? Not a lot of direction. So days like this, mind you, until you've had a day like this, it's kind of too late then to finish and go home, isn't it? Not a lot of chat on the Discords either, really. So, if that is a channel break, I don't know, is it a channel? It might just be 2 legs up. We've only really touched it twice. I think it's just 2 legs up. So, how much of a pullback have we had from the tops there? Yeah, it's pulled back too much, surely, isn't it? We're above all this stuff now. But is it a leg down with a correction? No, it's pulled back too much. Let's have a look. Not sure about that. We may have had a break here. It's hard to say, isn't it? See who's got what. Yeah, see, Thomas has got that as a 1 channel. For me, it just looks like 2 legs up. This may be a spike in a channel or something. It's hard to say, really, isn't it? So I'm not in a rush to go long anyway. I want to see that break. Sorry, get a new extreme. See, would you consider that overnight highs or this? Because if you consider that overnight highs, we kind of bounced off it. Tell you what, let's have a look at the 10,000 tick chart, see if that's giving us anything. Yeah, Dan's got this as 2 separate legs. So I do like seeing his charts. Thomas has got that separate. See, I don't know, Dan seems to understand this really well, so I would tend to go with that. It does seem like a channel and another one not so steep. Mind you, this guy has got that like that, not touching. We're touching at the top nice, so if we have a leg and a leg down and skim this area here, that might be an option. But at the moment, I think it's just leg and a leg. There is slightly a different angle, so if we can get a second leg down here, then that may make sense. It was about there, wasn't it? It's a bit early there. If you have a second leg and start working up there, then I'd say, yeah, that makes sense. It doesn't look terrible. It kind of bounces around the midline, so yeah, I'm a bit on the fence at the moment. So if we can end up getting down here somewhere, then we may have something. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a second leg, because you wouldn't want to be buying here, would you? So just for now, I'll leave that there. At least we've got an indicator of where prices might go. That does look like we're going to come down. So would take us to kind of, well, actually to the tops of this, really. What was once resistance then becomes support. So leg. If we bounce off here and start working up, then I don't mind that bigger channel. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to take anything here, really. Stuff like this tends to get crucified, I think. So let's put that there. Channel break. After this, really, you're expecting a break because you're always going to get people going long there, aren't you? And often it does this, triggers them and comes down. So possible second entry long. I'm not taking it at the moment, because we haven't had a full leg, and it may trigger it and come down one leg and another leg in the way of two smaller ones. That would make sense. So I'm sitting tight here. I've been caught out with these before where they trigger and come straight down, and there's your smallest second leg. And it may take off as well. But I've been caught out with these, so I'm sitting tight. It's a little bit flat, that EMA. And we finished just under, so it may work this, but my gut is telling me sit tight. Higher low may be a better option. Would that work there? It doesn't work that angle, so I would say, and especially this measured leg down here, so I'm going to sit tight. Just flick over to the oh no, we're on the 10,000 tick chart. Where was my $900 trade? It was there. Second entry long, channel break. No, tell a lie. That's the ES. It was on the NQ. Oh yeah, it was same place. Let me have a look. No. This may come down. Let's have a look. Yeah, it was the same one there. Same trade there. It'll change over in a minute. It's still showing the NQ. Yeah, there. Same place, same trade. Let's just have a look at this. It's all right. You got to be careful when you're swapping around accounts. me just make sure everything's opening like they should do. Right, this is coming down for me. There's a second entry long there, which is turned into a failure. But I'm not taking it because we've had a channel break and a new low. But my gut feeling is this is going to come down below here. That's vulnerable to me. It's kind of floating there, isn't it? I'd expect price to come down and retest this area in the way of a leg and a leg. And that is a failed second entry long. So that is vulnerable. As soon as it appeared, I stayed out of it anyway. And where do you think this is going to go? It's going to attack that short, surely, isn't it? Which would get us down to possibly this line. In fact, if that's where it was a bit lower, I think. Yeah, a little bit higher. Yeah, if that channel is valid, I'd expect this measured leg or close to somewhere around about there. Which would come down below there. I mean, who knows? We could have that, and it may turn into a high low, but it's a bit sideways here. My gut is telling me you just get used to seeing something that just looks vulnerable, and that to me just looks, it's just waiting to go. So channel break, 2 pushes to a new low. Bullish bar here, I don't think it'd be terrible. But I'm going to wait for a higher low just in case this ends up like ranging. It's hard to know exactly what's going on, but this does look like a shoulder, head, shoulder, which would be a bullish pattern. I would prefer it to test the top of this line and at least have a good crack at that measured move. Be about there. So leg with a break, 2 pushes to a new low. So let's see if we get a bounce here. Trouble is it's below that now, so it has closed there. So there's nothing we can do here really. It's going to have to push up above that AMA before I could even think about going long. But that might have other ideas. This is struggling to get up, isn't it? I thought we may get like a correction and a bullish bar there, but it's trying, but it's struggling. Is this just range in here, is it? Are we going to come down? It's hard to read today. It's not as, mind you, it has been a bit tough lately, isn't it? I mean, yesterday wasn't a bundle of fun, was it? So, 2 legs down. There is a bullish bar. I'm not trusting that. It's just kind of floating in the middle of nowhere. I'd expected a bit more follow through if that was going to continue on up after this. Someone says still expecting a new high. It doesn't strike me as enough momentum to get that up. I mean, after a nice correction and measured move, that's the place where you'd think buyers would come in if this thing was going to have the legs to push up. It's almost identical. This is on the NQ. We got two channels up almost, sort of. That one's slightly more messy, but we got two legs down, so it's very similar. But this tried, it's struggling for me. This is going to just come down some more. It hasn't got the legs. This is on its way a bit lower, isn't it? The easiest of days. See, the way I try and look at it is I go for a flat 3 points. So 2 trades in a week is all I need for a great living. So 2 trades in a week, that's 8 trades a month, say, times 3, that's $2,400. Now, it's a couple of days more than a month. So let's say $2,500 minus fees. So $2,400 for argument's sake. And that's... let's say $2,500. Now let's say you lose trades, another $600. So you're up $1,800. So for an 80% win rate, taking 2 trades a week, 10 trades a month. That's what, 25 taking 6. That's say $1,900 per month for an 80% win rate. Let's say you have a bad month and you lose another 2 or 3 trades, and you have 65-75% win rate. You still made $1,000 in a month. If you've got 10 PA accounts, that's $10,000 in a month. That's not pocket change. So it's important to keep it in mind that some days you may sit here for 3 or 4 hours and not take a trade, and that's okay, as long as you sat in front of your screen for when you get a good solid setup and you take it. And I find the less trades you take, the better quality your trades, and that's when you're going to hit your 80% pluses. And I don't think it's unreasonable for a 1-to-1 to expect 80%. Not at all. But, you know, even at worst scenario, and you take 10 trades and you lose 4 of them, you're still making money. So you don't need a lot of trades. So I think it's definitely helped me. I mean, sometimes if I see Wilson, he might take 3 or 4 trades in a day. And Sam as well, he's taking quite a few trades, and he's taking trades that I think are risky, and he's losing them. But that's okay. You go through these phases of being really good and making money and getting trades, and then you're slacking off on your discipline, and then you get a bit of frustration, then you come back a little bit strong, and I think you start to find a place then. And I find I slip off it from time to time. Usually when I've had a good run and a bunch of wins in a row, then I tend to slip off that top level of discipline. And I think it's important to put something in place when that happens. And the next loss I take is the following trade I take. I want it to be the best I can find. And I think then you get straight back on that, that top spot of being about the best discipline you can be. But it does take a lot of slipping and falling and getting back up. It's like learning to ice skate, I suppose, isn't it? You're going to slip on your arse a ton of times until you manage to stay on your feet. But yeah, for me, less is definitely more. I take way less trades than I thought I'd ever take. I thought I'd be taking 3-4 trades a day and some. That's probably 3-4 trades is a lot for me in a week. So, if we can get a second entry short here, I wouldn't have an issue with going short there. Touch. It kind of works off that midline. We've pushed below that EMA. 1, 2, 3, triple test, second entry short. I don't think it's terrible. So I'm just going to
Order
get
submitted.
an order ready. See what happens. Kind of testing the underside of this as well. We've pushed below. Let's see if we get a solid bar. Even if we just have that channel. Now that is a bit too far from that EMA for me. Kind of hope that finishes naff. That is a little bit too far from that EMA for me. How do you intend to get better with copying your losses? The issue with stopping trading is that you don't get the opportunity to practice staying calm after a loss. What I would say is I think sometimes getting into it's getting into a habit, I think. If you find taking losses difficult, you've got two options. You can either blow up or get better with time. Now, if you are fortunate enough to be able to get hold of a piece of software like Guard Angel Trader, it forces you. So let's say, for instance, I don't know, you're an alcoholic, and probably not the best scenario, but let's say you're an alcoholic, yeah? And you've got a bottle of whiskey in the cupboard. Now, if there's a lock on that cupboard, you can't physically get that bottle. Now, I know you could go out and buy another one, but you get what I'm saying. So having something like Guardian Angel forces you to walk away, and that, I think, breaks that habit or stops that cycle. And I don't have the same reaction to a loss that I used to have. So for me, it's probably the last piece in the puzzle that's just a little bit more stubborn than the rest. And I'm okay with that. I don't like to lose, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a tough one, really. I know what you're saying. Sometimes you've got to kind of learn, but I've got a way of forcing me to do something without losing and blowing up accounts. So it's saving me money. So it's kind of like a, you know, I don't know, it's having a back door, isn't it, really? I mean, no one wants a fire, but we have fire extinguishers in case something happens. So I just think it gives me that little bit of extra protection. But it does force me. So now, if I lose a trade now, whereas before I'd have that urge to trade, I'm quite happy to walk away because it's breaking that habit and that little bit of frustration. So it's kind of forcing me to accept my fate, so to speak. But it doesn't have the same effect that it used to. But I still don't, you know, intend to improve and resolve the issue. Do you have a plan for turning it off? I'll just leave lots of opportunities on the table. Well, to be honest with you, I don't take a lot of trades in a week. So one trade a day, every day, is probably more than I take anyway. So it's not something that it's forcing me not to take losses so I can continue for the trade for the day. I think one loss is enough, personally. Now, if you think about it, now my accounts, let's say $2,600 drawdown, and I'm risking, say, $300. I'm risking over 10%. You wouldn't normally risk over 10%. Now, if I was risking 2%, which is 1/5, so 300 now, 1/5. So if I was, I don't know, risking $60, if all I was risking is $60, I wouldn't stop at one loss. I'd stop at 3 because it would make more sense. But the more you risk, I think the more careful you've got to be. So it did work, that one, but to be fair, it's a bit flat there. It could go a bit higher, so I've got no issues with staying out of that. It did go a little bit sideways and a bit wiki, but yeah, it's not like I'm stopping myself from trading further. I don't see a lot of trades that I take. Just take your... Yeah, absolutely. If I wait and take A plus trades, I probably find 3 a week, maybe 4. So, you know, 1 loss a day is fine for me. I'm quite happy to walk away. So I'd rather trade 2 contracts and 1 loss rather than 1 contract and 2 losses. Yeah, I would. Because I don't think there's enough trades around for me personally to have enough. So I'd rather put more of my eggs in one basket and wait for a better setups. It just feels right to me. I know it's a personal thing. But what I'll say is if you get a bit frustrated when you take a loss, the chance of you taking another loss does climb up. Whereas if you get away for the day, tomorrow morning it's a new day, you've forgotten all about it, you're back to your patience. So it works for me at the moment. But, you know, as we get more experience, then we develop and we get better and our confidence grows. You know, I dare say I'll at a time where it doesn't bother me in the slightest. But if I took 2 losses in a day, that's $600. I've lost 20%, nearly 20%. And if you lost 20% of your pot, I suppose a professional trader would say you're risking too much. So it's kind of that sort of balance with trying to grow accounts, because bearing in mind, my accounts have only cost me $85 to get that 2,600 drawdown. Whereas if it was my own money, I would be risking $2,600, but good not to be generous. Yeah, I mean, you know, as I get sort of more confident, I kind of know, do I trust myself to trade without it? I still have that weakness. It's the last piece of the puzzle. So I'd rather, if I can use a piece of software to force me, I'd rather use it than risk blowing me account, you know what I mean? But obviously as I change and, you know, with time, it's still early. I've only been trading for 4 years. It's not a lot of time. You know, with time, and it doesn't affect me, then maybe I will, you know. But I think 1 loss, 10%, in fact, it's over 10%. If I lose 300 on a 26 draw, I've lost about 11%. I think 11% of your pot for a day is enough. But equally, if I win a trade, I've made 11% a day. So, and with price action as well, there's different ways of trading. And I know some people risk 1 to make 2, and they may have a 40% win rate. So they may lose quite a few trades in a row. Now, if you were losing 10% at a time, you wouldn't last long. Whereas I go for higher probability trades and I expect to get them right 80, 90% of the time. And I think if you take really good setups and you're a good price, I mean, look at Dan. I think Dan has something like a 96% win rate. So, you know, I know he goes for 6 ticks, and if you add an extra 6 on top of that, it might drop that down. But I want 2 trades a day. At least one of them should close green. Yeah. You know, everyone's got their own different way of way of looking at risk. And at the moment, I just feel this is right for me. And as you know, have I got trades open somewhere? I have.
Order cancelled.
Right there. Glad I didn't shut that down, mind you. It would have prompted me. But yeah, it works for me at the moment. But as things change, yeah. I mean, I did tried going for 1 contract, but, you know, like I say, I was struggling to find a few trades a week, and, you know, I wanted to try and aim for to sort of kind of earn, you know, trade 100 contracts, a loss, percentage of heart attack. Yeah. He's been doing it a long time, and he's built up. And I know if you look at some of Mac's videos going back about 4 years, he played a few of his. You can see it's his personal account. He was trading 40 contracts then. But it's like anything. If your bank balance is big enough, you know, 40 contracts sounds a lot. But, you know, if you've got $500,000 in your account, then it might not, you know, seem so much. But he used to go for a point. He goes for 6 ticks now. So, you know, if you add an extra 1.5 on, but if you look at Dan's trades, you look at his charts, he takes good setups, and really good setups do work for a substantial amount of points. And you can work out why his trades work. That's why I find him valuable to learn from. Let me just get on the Facebook group. Just give you a quick example. Let's see if we get a second entry here. So when was this? That was yesterday's chart. Yeah, he won't mind me sharing this. So this was his chart yesterday. So let's just look at this. So 2 legs back. So it's kind of a couple of legs back, and he took a long there. And that went up for, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 points, something like that. Took a short there. Let's see if I can find... he took a short there. These are 5. So that went down for 4.5, maybe 4.5 points, maybe. That one there. Yep, same again. 5, 6, 7 points, maybe. So if you're taking good quality setups, they do work, and they work well. Just grab one more. So this one here. So same again. 2 legs up, bearish bar. It did come back a bit, but that went right down here. Same with that one. I ummed and ahed there, but it came down that quick. He got in there, got out here, got down there, but look at that. That went down 10 points. So, you know what I'm saying? So there's this, if it's a good setup, okay. If it's a good setup, they really do go. So where's that come from? Yeah. Oh, how do I get my... I guess the thing to remember is with Apex, you only need to make $250 a day to take the maximum. $250 a day. No, $50 a day. If you take... Oh, you're about to take the 2,000... Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah. What is going on with my system? Okay, second entry short here. That would interest me.
Order submitted.
Come on, bounce up there. What's going on here? My chart's gone a bit funny here. I needed to break up to there, though. Leg and a leg. I like this. It's got a touch, though. It has worked on my other chart, but it's a bit too far away from the EMA. I might just have a risk there and see what happens. But not give it too much. I'm just in on my other chart. Let's just see. No, it's going to take me out, isn't it? It might not. They're going to leg bearish bar. Not sure about this. It just doesn't seem to be reacting like I'd want it to. don't think it's terrible. It's just not reacting right. I think I've got to take that. 9 ticks.
Order submitted.
It is 2 legs up. It's only a $250 risk. It's not huge, actually. It is 2 legs. I think that looks okay to me. We'll see. It's not looking good. I'm just going to give it an extra. Oh, okay, took me out anyway for $200. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll give it an extra tick anyway. So that's not terrible. I'm down, what, $200? Yeah, it's not terrible. I don't think it was a terrible trade. It worked okay. It's working like a 2-tiered channel. It was 2 legs up, bearish bar. Sometimes they don't work. I don't think it was a terrible trade. So I'm down $200 on the day, just over. So I'm all right with that. That's fine. I've got no issues with that. It does happen. Did anybody else take it? Let's have a look. Was that slightly early one they took? Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? I think a few people took it. I don't think it was a terrible trade. Thomas Wade looked really good. I still like it. Why didn't it work? Who knows? I mean, we started here and we've had a kind of an overshoot, but then we came back and came again. So I don't think it was a terrible trade. I actually liked it. 2 legs up. I don't know. I dare say we'll find something. It's just one of them things. My signal bar was different, too bullish. Yeah, that's just it sometimes, isn't it? It's hard to know. But, I mean, you know, that's a day. I saw I'm down an average of, say, 215. That's okay. Another 3-point trade would sort that out. So yeah, what was I up? $60 odd. So let's say 50 after that. Yeah, so 2.5 point risk. It wasn't terrible. $250. Another trade of another day. I'll sort that out. So yeah, I'm just down $200 on the day, obviously minus the fees, but yeah, absolutely. Well, that's it now. I can't trade now, but that's fine. So that's the worst sort of day scenario for me. Excuse me. I got no issues with that at all. 29, I couldn't trade with this. So 29's up nice for the day. So I think overall 2468. What am I for the day? I'm still up $244 overall for the day. What time? Well, I'll be finished now anyway. We've done over 3 hours anyway, but I think a lot of people got stopped too on that second entry. Try again. Yeah, it looked okay. It was clearly 2 legs up. That'll be a reason why, I dare say. There's always a reason, I think. Let's see if Dan's commented on there. I didn't like it. First entry short, though it could have been a potential. Can't reset. Wait for the lower high. It's not for me. See, we push up, we come back, we go sideways and down. It's on my chart anyway. It's a second entry short. Touch, touch, touch. Whether it was because this, but it's working along the midline, isn't it? So it's weird that something like that would work, but that wouldn't. Whether it's something to do with this, who knows? But let's say, for instance, okay, so there is a scenario. Maybe it's just that with a break and a new low. I think that's probably it. Yeah, that would make sense, I think. Let's just take a snapshot of that. That, I think, is probably why. Yeah, so it's one of them things, isn't it? Yeah, sometimes it happens, doesn't it? But I'm fine with that. I got no issues. So it might be that we've already had a break of it. I thought I posted it there, did I not? Yeah, so it might have been that. That might have been something different, but we had it like that. What I will say is if you look at that like that, yeah, it does hit that, but if you look at it, see how it's working there, and then all of a sudden it comes down the bottom, so maybe that's just it. Maybe it was just that. That's one of those things anyway, isn't it? Anyway, quick question, guys. You see this down here, this taskbar? Can you see it? You can't see it mine. The taskbar, I've got the taskbar sideways on my other screen. How do I get it back down the bottom? Does anybody know? So let's show taskbar view button, show taskbar. Select it and drag. Ah, okay, yeah, brilliant, done, sorted. Nice one, thanks, mate. I don't know what I did earlier, but it just flicked up out the way and was stuck at the side. So yeah, not terrible. In fact, I'm down even a bit less than that in some of them. Yeah, 200, 200, 200, 200, and 175 of them, that's fine. You are the pattern trader. I am a price level trader. Yeah, that might have been why. A lot of people took it anyway, so I don't know, it's one of them things. But I think that might be why, but it was 2 legs up, but it still looks like it's coming down though, so I don't know, is it a bit choppy in here, but that would make sense. 2 pushes up and down to a new low, and that might be why it trapped. But it's one of them things, isn't it? That's fine. So what time is it now? 3:15. So I am done for the day. So worst scenario day down just over $200. That's fine. I go for an average of 3 points. So nothing to trade. Someone told me once, never lose more in a day than you can make back in another day. So But yeah, I think the reason it didn't work, it may have been channel down with a break, 2 attempts to push up and then down for a new low, and that might be why, who knows. But we are kind of in the middle, so I only wanted it down here, down to this one. So there you go. So I am done for the day, folks. So it is, what day is it tomorrow? Friday tomorrow, isn't it? So yeah, Thursday, Friday tomorrow. So I'll be back tomorrow. If you carry on trading, best of luck. Failing that, I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll catch up and do it all again. So have a great evening, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.